Well, good afternoon or good morning, everyone. This is Mark Wolf with Emergency Reporting, and also on the line with me is Chris Ekstrom. He's our one of our regional trainers, and he happens to be in Colorado today, and I am in Ohio. We want to go ahead and start this off by welcoming everyone. Today we're going to be discussing managing certifications in our virtual Thursday training. Also want to remind everybody that upcoming training that we have coming up in San Diego, California is one of our regional training conferences from May 9 through May 11, and you can check that out on our website and sign up for that if you desire to do so. We're also going to have some more I'll mention later on this year. In July, we will be in Cleveland, Ohio, and in October, we're planning on being down in the Miami, Florida area for a regional training conference on both counts. So today we're going to dig into certifications, and the first thing we'll do is talk about certification settings, adding certifications to your personnel, tracking those certifications, and then renewing those same certifications if that does apply to them. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get this started. And I will close this and start with this here. Now, certifications. Why do we want to talk about this? First of all, you can, in our system, maintain all your certification records. Basically, if you fully utilize this module, you can use all electronic records and do away with any paper records that you have to keep. You can track certifications that expire. Specifically, we're talking about EMS certifications, and Chris has an example for you later on we're going to look at through a JPR they use out west in the wildfire regions. We have agencies that keep a minimal amount of certification records for perhaps just the certifications that the agency requires. Some agencies go full board with this and track all certifications and certificates their personnel get into the system. Some agencies only limit the certifications that they manage in the system that expire, such as, again, your EMS certifications. And the last thing we're going to talk about when we get to that, and Chris is going to jump in and do that, is to track a JPR, job performance requirements. And we'll go over how that works in the system. So with given that, we're going to go ahead and go to the setup of the certifications, and where we'll go is navigate down here to the administration module, and on the administration page up here at the top we've got a button for settings, and right underneath that in the personnel block we have a settings hyperlink here. Either one of those will take us to the certifications setup area. And the account we're using today is a training account that I use. So it's got actually quite a few types of certifications and the certifications in it already. And I'll scroll down that you can see some of these. And this is basically where you would organize how you're going to keep those. As you can see, I'll highlight across here on the firefighting certification type for all of our firefighting certifications here. I'll go to the certifications tab up the top, and that's where we'll put the specific certifications in for that certification type. So in this case, I have under the firefighting type, fire service instructor, firefighter 1, and firefighter 2. Just to give you an idea of how you can organize those, it's very similar to other parts of our system where you can set up categories and subcategories. It's basically the same thing, certification types and the certifications. I recommend that you set them up by discipline just to manage them a little bit better. And an example I'll give you for that is our special ops certifications down here where I'm highlighting now. All of our hazmat, in this account anyway, hazmat, technical rescue type certifications are all managed under that type just for organization. Now, the default settings for the certification types, if you are a NEMSIS 2 or a 3 account, you will have NEMSIS certifications up at the top, and you'll also have another one. I'll move up a little bit and highlight it, other certifications. And that's what you'll have in your account when it's a brand new account. If it's a fire-only account, you'll only have the other for certifications type set up. So then you'll have to generate any that you need. Now what I'm going to do is go a basic demo of how we add a new certification type and then a certification. So I'm going to come up here to the upper left, push my Add New button. I've got my pop-up window here, Add New Certification Type, and what I'm going to do is create one that's NFPA Instructor. I'm going to give me a description of NFPA Fire Instructor. So we'll save that. And now you see that that type, or think of it as a category, shows up, and I've got it highlighted on the screen, NFPA Instructor, NFPA Fire Instructor. And then under the Certifications tab, so we'll switch to that, I'll add the new certification. And in this, we're going to, first of all, select the certification type. We'll go down and find our NFPA Instructor. And our certification name, in this case, NFPA has them broken down into different levels. So we're going to have a Fire Instructor 1. My description will be NFPA Fire Instructor 1. So we'll save that. It's a fairly simple and straightforward process. And we'll scroll down here. And occasionally, just like what's happening right here, is we can't view it on the screen, but take my word for it that it is in the system. Oh, here it is. I did find it. NFPA Instructor, Fire Instructor 1, and NFPA Fire Instructor 1 right there. Now you'll notice all the way over here on the right, I can edit the certification language that I inputted if I need to change that. And if I do not have any certifications assigned to anyone on that, I can delete it. If my trash can over here to delete that certification is grayed out like it is right above that for my Fire Inspector 1 certification, then that means I have inspectors in this case assigned to that certification, so I can't delete it until I remove them from their account in the event I need to change things up a little bit. So that's the basic setup on how we will assign new certification types and the individual certifications that fall under that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you how to add that certification to somebody on our roster. So we'll go in here. There's a couple ways we can do this. The first place is for you folks that have admin rights, is to go into the admin section to the personnel list. And I'm going to pick Lieutenant Steve Bonnet, and in his record we're going to go to certifications, and there should be several here for him already. Firefighting and a NEMSA certification, so he is a EMT and a Firefighter 2, and we're going to add a new certification to that. That will be our Fire Instructor 1. So our certification type, we'll select that when we get the pop-up window to add this. NFPA Instructor, I'll select that from the type. Now in this case, there's only one certification name underneath that, so it'll come up by default, and I don't have any other choices but that one. But in the event you set up one with Fire Instructor 1 and Fire Instructor 2, you'll select the proper level. And we're going to put in a date here. And I don't know what happens where you folks live, but here in Ohio, any of our fire service certifications have to be renewed every 3 years. So we're going to put a date in here that we received this certification. And I just prefer myself to type these in. So I want to put a date in that this lieutenant was granted his certification in March 1st of 2014. Which, if I come down here to the expiration date, would have made it expire in that 3-year cycle, March 1st, 2017. I can put some notes in down here if I need to, such as a certification number. And then down below, I can add a file. So if I have, this is where we can go to those paperless records. If I have that certification, I take a picture of it, or I can scan it in and create a PDF file of it, or whatnot, that we can add this to that file, and I'll click Add File, and let me go and find my demo docs here, and I'm going to pull a what a certification looks like here in Ohio, which is printed on a card on the bottom of a piece of paper. And here's that certification. So now we have a 100% paperless record of this. Push Add, and we'll throw that certification in here. So one thing I wanted to point out is when we're doing this, we've now got a red warning over here with our red warning triangle. The title of the type and the certification is red, and you'll see over here under expiration that that's red since today's date is the 16th and it's past March 1st, 2017. So that indicates to us that it's expired. Our notes are displayed here, and that's that number I threw in there. We have a copy of the file available. The paper scroll here on the line is our history for that certification. So we'll select that, and you can see that we've got a issued expiration date when it was recorded on, and that information is published right here. And as we add these over time, to no matter what type of certification it is, you'll have that history record when you recertify them and renew them displayed here. Next to that is our renewal button. I'm not going to push that right now, but it's a round circle with the arrows in it, that green circle. To the right of that is our ability to edit the certification. Now, not everything in the record is editable, just our expiration date, our notes, and our attachment. The other information up above that can't be deleted or edited. So in the event somebody does some typos on the data input on those, you have to delete it and start over with the record. And then again, next to that is our trash can to delete the certification if you happen to need to. So now I'm not going to renew that right now. We're going to show you where we can do that and manage those a little bit better and a little more efficiently for your whole organization a little while. Let me go back into the settings section, and let's just talk a little bit about what kind of certification are folks keeping in the system. And you can see a pretty long list here. In this account, we've got our NEMSIS certifications as our type. We've got other EMS certifications that we put in, and this was for non-NEMSIS accounts. This is a demo. Our EVOC, Emergency Vehicle Operation Class certification types, fire officer, firefighting, fit testing. We generated a type for maintaining our fit testing records. So we get fit tested annually. We can keep those records in the system and again go paperless with them and put a expiration date on those so that as we're going through time, we don't have people falling through the cracks, so to speak, that'll miss a fit testing. Got a category for driver's licenses. In many cases with the working for the government, local government, county or whatnot, you have a requirement to maintain a driver's license. So we have a section in here for driver's licenses. I do quite a bit of training for the DOD. That's why this states Department of the Army. You can maintain incident command certification. Here's that one we just created for the NFPA instructor. Our NFPA physical. So if your department does the annual or biannual NFPA physicals, the 1582 physicals, you can create certification type and certifications in for that to describe those. And I've got a message.
That's just from me, Mark. Don't worry. Just move.
Okay. All right. I just happened to notice my chat window was blinking a little bit there. Okay. Other certifications, that's a miscellaneous catch-all that's pre-built into your system. We've created a prevention section. Special ops certifications, which in this training account, we put all the special ops certifications, whether it be for hazmat, some of the technical rescue, swift water, and so forth, under that type. Here's our state driver's license. And TARP, which is one of the government DOD firefighters requirements, a threat awareness reporting program. It's an annual training that they do, that they have to do. So we set that up so they can do that on a JPR, which Chris is going to cover in a little while. And then we just created this wildland refresher type down here on the bottom of the page for the demo and a little bit later that Chris is going to do. So those are the things that we can do, and you can get pretty creative with these in tracking the certifications that your personnel get, and especially track the ones that expire that you need to make sure they maintain current with their EMS certifications and whatnot to keep them legal, so to speak. I'm going to show you now basically how the better way to maintain these all at one time for your agency, and that is through the training module. So we're going to navigate there. Now when we get to the training module, and again this is the grid page for the training module of this account. Up at the top, anybody that has full access into training and admin will have the certifications button at the top of their page right here. And when they select that, you'll see that we'll be able to see all of the certification types displayed here that everybody has, plus if they have any that's in multiple types. So we're going to pick firefighting. You can see it's got that red warning triangle, so we have a little bit of an issue there. And we've got the different certifications listed under the certification type here for fire service instructor. That's that one. That's not the one we just put in. See, firefighter 1, we've got a personnel, some firefighters 2, the whole list there. And in Ohio, we have a different certification with the volunteer certification down here at the bottom. So you can see how we do that for organizational purposes. And I'm going to collapse all these again so you can see at the bottom. We can expand all to see all of them. Scroll down through them. We can close out which ones we don't need to see. And we can collapse them all here again at the bottom, selecting that button. So we just put in the NFPA instructor certification, so we'll go back down to that. And again, you'll see the red warning here because we know that we put that in on purpose to have an expiration date that's passed. So what we'll do now is assume that we just had a little bit of an issue getting a copy of the actual certification. So we've got that in hand. We can come over here to the right to our renew button, select it. We can go in and type in the date that it was renewed, which is 3/1/2017, and our expiration date, and I'll navigate through the calendar here to find March 2020 for our 3-year cycle. Put in my notes again. I prefer to put in a certification number, and then we can go grab our electronic copy of that certification, and we'll throw it in there like that. And we've got it in. Now we'll save that, and you'll see when I save this now, being that we are not expired with that certification now, all of my red warning symbols went away there. So that's essentially as easy it is to navigate through here and to renew them. Now I want to show you a couple things here with our NEMSIS certifications. This training account, we've got a paramedic in here we need to go take a look at. And we're going to scroll down, and perhaps some of you will recognize the name, especially if you're put it right here, Johnny Gage. I just want to show you one thing that's displayed in here. When I made up this account, we were having a little bit of fun. I put Johnny and Roy in here. I'm going to come over and display to you through the history. What I did was went through about the time that one show, and there's bonus points if you can tell us what the show was. Went on television, and I went through on a 3-year cycle and renewed these certifications, and you can see where it came on. We renewed it every 3 years. So that's that history. And if I would have put in any notes, or I put an electronic copy of the certification here, it would be displayed on the screen right there. So that's what that certification history looks like. over time, you'll build that out for your personnel. And more importantly, you'll have a copy of every time they renew that certification, if you put it in there, that you'll have instant access to it, and you can then print that out. So what we'll do here to show you how that works is we're going to go to our NFPA instructor we just put in. And here's that file. I'm just going to click on it right there. And pops up, and this happens to be my Ohio certification. It's current, and if I need to, I can come up here, and I'm using Google Chrome, come up and print it, and then if we need to, we can print this out by just using the print function in our browser. Takes a second to print that out. Now we can print it and have a paper record if we need it. So let's see over here. Okay, Chris, are you going to take care of that question that's out there, or do you want me to look at it there? Or you can jump in and.
You're going to have to look at it, Mark. I can't. I can't
okay.
access them.
All right, let me up here pop that out. So. Okay, Sal. In this case, what Sal was asking, what if I decide a year after entering a bunch of certifications, I want to reorganize them, say Swiftwater is no longer going to be under fire operations, but we add a special operations type. Is that going to mess anything up? Well, what I'll suggest to you here is that the organization of the system in the first place is very important. In this case, you do not have the ability to switch certification types or the actual certification underneath that. So you'll have to organize that up in a manner that you're going to maintain for a while, or you're going to have to take those entries and redo them essentially, and then scan in or find your file and reattach it to that record. There is really no current way to move one to a new type if you generate that. So hopefully that answered your question. And let me see if I can help Chris out here by getting our, I'll try to get him over to able to do that.
You know, one thing, just thinking out loud here, that would be a feature request for those of you that are familiar with the feature request side in there, which I like because we all know that we change things, we develop a new operational program with our department. So that would be a great feature request that we could add in there. That question. Another thing that I might recommend, if that does happen to you before we do have that feature available, emergency reporting, would be to create that new.
Okay, I think, Chris, did we lose Chris there? I think Chris, are you there and you can hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, I changed you to an organizer, so you should be good to go then. Okay, so Sal answered back yes. Okay, good deal, Sal. And I appreciate Chris coming in and saying that yes with our suggested feature. That would be an excellent idea to throw into that and see if we can get that pushed forward. Chris, you should be able to look at those questions now if we have any more come in. Okay, and again, I'm going to come in and quick demo. So we've got a warning here, our NEMSIS certifications. We have a total of 56 in the system under this type. And we have 32 that are certified as a paramedic, and we've got the warning there. We're going to scroll down, and a fellow by the name of Tyler Eifert, you may have heard of him before. We're going to come over here and simply renew his certifications. As you can see, that expired back in February. So we'll put the new date there and select his expiration date, 3 years out. Be 2020, March 1st. And again, my practice is to put their certification number in, attach that file just with a few mouse clicks. And save it. And there you'll see, in this case now, we have no NEMSIS certifications that are out of their certification dates. Okay, so I am going to change over, and I'm going to hand control over to Chris. Let me do this, Chris. I'm going to go back to the home page. There's an important thing that we can do on the home page. Is first I'm going to go here, and under system notifications there is the option to change the notifications to allow the individual, or for an admin level personnel, that they'll be able to see all certifications. In this case, we've got a couple here in the notifications that I've selected for this, and this is towards the bottom of the window, to display certifications that are expiring with the next 30 days. So we get a little bit of a warning when one's coming due, to go check with our person and say, hey, we know you've got your certification renewal coming up. Do you have your documents, and can we put them into the system? And then I've got this account set to show 120 days past certification that have expired. Just for training purposes, I typically wouldn't leave it out that long. So we're seeing those on here now with the orangish red letters. Those are hyperlinks for us. And we have Tyler Eifert here also had his firefighter certification expire. So from this screen, we can select that, and we'll go right into his record. And we can see, yep, that's expired here. We're going to renew it. And we'll select that renewal date to out to 3 years. Put my notes in, and again attach my file. In probably less time than you can take this stuff, put it into a, let's say an Excel spreadsheet. I know a lot of folks use those kind of things, and make a copy of it, walk over to the file cabinet and throw it in their file. We've renewed his certification, and we'll come out and show you the history. And here was the initial one I put in, and this is the one I just recorded here. And that's the copy of it. Again, if I select that copy of that file right there, it'll pop up in another window. Then I can view it, print it out, whatever I might need to do to it. And one more thing we'll show on from the home page, then we'll turn it over to Chris. All individuals, if they have access to their own profile, they can select that, and there is a section in here where they can view their certifications. They can't manipulate them, edit them, add things to it, but they can see them, is what certifications they have in the system. And this is under my login for this account. And you see I've got a EMT certification, Firefighter 2, and a state driver's license in the system for me. So that's pretty much the long and short of the managing the certifications. There's one other important function, and we're going to turn this over to Chris. So I am going to hand him control. And you know what, Chris? This thing is saying, and there you go. You should have that now, Chris.
All right, give us 1 second. Yeah. Hey, give me a little help here, Mark. Make sure I'm showing the right screen on there. Can you see my mouse on there on the training classes grid?
No, you have to go in under the sharing tab. Let's see. I'm gonna change presenter. Nope. It says it's waiting to view your screen. You need to open that sharing up, and then there should be a button there to say push show.
Yeah, it says it's showing. Sorry about this. There it says they're showing screen.
And it seems
all right.
We are having a little bit of a technical challenge here. Okay, so did you select that button, Chris? Show screen?
Hang on 1 second. Let me see. It says on showing screen. And make sure that I'm on there.
Yeah, right now we just got a note from somebody. They're seeing a white screen. So we're having a little bit of an issue with getting Chris's screen up.
Apologize for that, guys. So. All right. If you're not seeing it, Mark, take this because it's saying that I'm working on my end. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Let me, we'll get back on here then and we'll just fly with it. Okay, we should be back to my screen that I'm on, moving around here a little bit. And Chris, you want to jump in here and talk them through this, and I'll just do the mouse clicking. How about that? Yeah, it seems that Chris may be having a little bit of a technical issue on his end, so we'll just go ahead and jump into this. What we're going to do here is go into the training module and show you essentially how this ties together with our JPR. I'll select that, job performance requirement. We had set this up yesterday for the demo.
Hey, Mark,
Go ahead.
I'm not hearing you anymore. I don't know if you're hearing me.
Yeah, Chris, you keep cutting in and out. Maybe you can chat a message to me and I'll see that. We apologize for that, folks.
Buddy.
Let's see here. Yeah, we just got a message. I saw that too, Brett, that Chris's audio keeps cutting in and out as well. We'll just go ahead and I'll go through the last part of the discussion that we have. Unless anybody has any other questions they would like to put in there, we'll try to monitor those and get right back with you. So we set up a JPR. It's an annual wildland refresher, and this is what Chris has out where he is in Colorado. A lot of their firefighters out there also do wildland firefighters, and they have to do a annual refresher course. So we set up a JPR. We set up somewhat of a very simple one here for the demo purposes. We have a couple of our individuals we put into here on the account, Barbed Wire and James Wright. And you can see we started the JPR effective March 1st and the end date of May 31st. So it gives us a time frame to work with. And in this case, I'm going to select James here and show you that what we're going through is they have to have a specific wildland firefighter refresher course taken. It's an 8-hour course, so we put that in as a template into the system. And the wildland firefighter pack test was a physical test that they must complete annually. And once we got those put into the system, we created a couple training sessions and completed them for these two individuals. And you can see that they both completed. We'll select the Barb's here as well. So we've got hers completed as well. So since they're pending over here, what we can do is come over to the lock. Now this means pending 2 out of 2, which means James Wright here attended both courses that was set up as templates into our JPR, and they're completed. We come over to the lock and we'll complete that JPR. And what we'll do here is put in our password as our admin. Granted date will default to the current date. We can put in some notes for the JPR if you want to. And on the bottom we have 3 options here to do no certification, we can make this JPR into a certification and manually upload the file, or we can make this JPR into a certification and automatically generate a file. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to make the JPR into a certification and automatically generate a file. So we're going to select the complete JPR. And we're going to come in and create the certification. In this case, we created one for our wildland refresher as our type, and that certification name is wildland refresher. We made this fairly simple, and we granted this today, March 16th. In this case, it's good for a year, so we'll jump down here and make this thing good for March 16th, 2018. We can put any notes in here that we need to, and we click Save. We have just completed his certification for James Wright, and we'll go take a look at this in a second. Here, you'll notice that the lock is now locked, so he's complete. We've chosen to generate that certification. So if I come up here to the top under certifications, we should see that certification type on our grid. Here it is, Wildland Refresher. And here's that type, or the certification under that's a Wildland Refresher with James Wright, issued today, granted, expires 3/16/2018. I put a note in, a test certification. And here's that file. We'll open that up so you can see what it looks like. Certification of completed, awarded to James Wright. Puts our effective and our expiration date. And you can use, if you have a several year period, you can put those in here. Here's our little logo that we use for this test account, and my name, since I'm the one that granted it, down here at the bottom. So that is basically how that ties into a JPR if you create those. And then you have a paper record of that, as well as your electronic record. If you need to print that out, you can. For down here now, one other area that we are recommending folks go in and talk about a feature request is, let me open that certification again. In a lot of states for EMS certifications specifically, there's data that has to be present on a certificate to make it valid to use for the audit purposes. So to reduce duplication of effort, we're recommending go into our feature request area and put this in if there's not one already there, and I don't recall if there's or not. But when a certification is completed, to have the options of putting the notes on the certification of, and I know here in Ohio it's really important to have a medical director's name, the CEU hours actually printed on the certificate, and the site number. All of our sites for EMSCE have to undergo an inspection and certification process, and that site number has to be present on a certification. And ours at this point do not include that, but it would be nice to have that included on there, so you folks can do basically one-stop shopping and generate your certificates and put them out for all your personnel, and you don't have to use any paper records and go through other additional steps for that. So that basically concludes the presentation for the day, unless we can get Chris back on the line here. He's got any other input, or if anybody
no,
has any other questions. Did I get that right, Chris?
Yeah, it looks perfect. I apologize. Hopefully I'm not coming in garbled anymore.
Yeah, it does sound a lot better. Okay, got from Natalie.
Well, one thing I was going to ask. Oh, go ahead.
We got a question from Natalie.
So Natalie was saying the certificate is created when you go into a JPR. If you want to go back in and show them, because that's one thing that I find a lot of people get confused on, Natalie. It's a great question. You have to create a class in the training module first, because when you create a class in the training module, then you're going to create a JPR from that. So since we have some, Mark, if you want to run through and do that real quick.
Absolutely. So let me clean up my screen up here a little bit. So let's go to the training grid. And what we did, Natalie, yesterday, we set up a JPR. I'm going to go in there first to show you that. We added a new JPR, which is this annual wildland refresher. I'm actually going to go here and hit the edit button so you can see what this looks like. I gave it a title, a start date, an end date, description of the JPR. If the customer is a safety analytics customer, they can check NFPA 1500 here, and this will cause a reaction and movement of the gauge in the training section in the safety analytics. And then basically what we have to do for any JPR, Natalie, is we have to put the requirements to meet that JPR in under as a class template. So we have to create a template. And in this case, I made up two, the Wildland Firefighter S130-190 refresher, and then that Wildland Firefighter pack test. I added them by adding a class template, and I'll show you what that looks like. Here, this is all the templates that we have in the system. You see somebody's having a little bit of fun. Jimmy John's Takeout. And then we can add agency personnel. In this case, to make it simple for the demonstration, I've just put 2 personnel in it. But when I hit add agency personnel, I've got my whole entire personnel list up here. And I can select the upper left. That checkbox will throw everybody in here. Or if it only concerns certain folks, I can go down and individually check them. I can, filter them by rank, shift, or station. That's real handy if you have, let's say, certain a JPR that you're creating for driver's training for your engineers. If that's a requirement, you can go through and sort them by rank or select them and add them to that list, and they'll be covered by that JPR. And once we get all that input, we'll save it. Now, the second step in all that, just by putting it in to the JPR, then we have to create classes and have them attend that class. So we'll go up here to the Fort Lee JPR we have created here. This is a list of personnel that were selected for that. And let me see what templates we have in here. So we have 3 templates: Ladders 101, Live Fire Training, and SCBA Training. And you can see for most of our personnel, we only have 1 or 2 classes, and that happens to be the ladders class. So what we'll do here is we'll go back to the training grid. And let me double check this. Okay, we're going to do SCBA training as a template here. So I'll create the class, and you'll see on the grid here, there's 2 at the top. These are the ones we created for that class. So to get our personnel, the system, to recognize that they took that class, we'll come up at the top, add a class. We're going to create the class from a template. And I'm going to go down and find that SCBA training, add the class. We're going to add it yesterday at 0900. We'll add the class, and from our template, most of our information in this training record will be pre-filled. In many cases, the only thing we have to add is an instructor. So we'll just pick an instructor at random. So we got a green light up here. We're going to go to our personnel, and we're just going to add agency personnel. We're going to add everybody just to simplify things a bit. So we'll add them. And we're going to fill in their hours. It's a 2-hour class. Get our warning here, and it's quite okay to override everything. Then we'll go in and authorize this. We'll set it complete as reviewed, and go back to our grid, and you'll see on yesterday's date right here at the top of the screen, we should have that SCBA training listed right here. So let's go back into that JPR, and you'll see that now that's at Fort Lee JPR. Our personnel down here have that class, or should have that class. Let's select here. Oh, and I know why, because it's outside of the date of our JPR. We set this back in December. I should have, in 2016, I should have saw that before I completed it. But we'll just get down here to this annual wildland refresher. So it works basically the same way. So now we'll go down here to barbed wire, and we'll see that she has pending 2 out of 2 trainings. So she's attended both trainings within the start and end dates of our JPR. So she's completed it, and the certification is pending. When I come over here to the lock, I will select that and put my password in since I'm logged in. And I see that we got a hand up and a couple questions I'm going to get to in just a moment. And here's how I make that actual certification, is selecting the bottom option here. So I'm going to automatically generate a file, and what that means, I'll automatically generate that certificate file, and I'm going to put it into a certification. So when I select that, I'll complete it, and I will go locate my certification type in the certification, put next year's date in, any notes that I might need. Push save, and it just generated that certificate. Now it's completed. And if we go back to the certifications, you'll see now that we've got Barb's certification in the record. And I'm going to look over at the questions here.
Hey, Mark, it looks like the next question that we have on here is just a question. They're having a little bit of trouble finding the videos from some of the past Virtual Thursdays.
Ah. Okay, let me get back in.
I know
here.
We changed that a little bit through a wrench in the system there.
Yeah, so here again is that certification for Barb, and that certificate that we produced by the system is right here. Now you don't have to produce that. You can create the record in here and then manually upload the certification by just going back into it and adding that file. So that hopefully goes for a full discussion for Natalie, what she was asking. Now, to get back to who Jose put this in, this question, I'm going to go back to the home screen here for you. And my system is kind of messing up here as well. Okay, the Virtual Thursday trainings. Any that we do, we'll record those, and to find those, we'll go to support, and the support page will come up, and then we can come over to the right side of the page under Knowledge Base right here. We'll scroll down, Webinars on Demand. We'll click that link, and that'll take us right into that page for the Webinars on Demand, and here they all are. And then you can search for these as well, so I'll type in training, hit enter, and it should bring up all the knowledge base articles and the webinars for training. And you see there's a bunch under training, and you can just search for them down through here or scroll down through those. Here's a Virtual Thursday, taking ER to the next level. Virtual Thursday Year in Review, that's got the word training in it someplace. So that's how you would find those. So let's get back to Webinars on Demand, and we can just come down through and find various ones on training. I know they're in here because I've actually looked at all those myself. New features in Training 3.0, and let me get to page 3 here. So those are some of the Virtual Thursday trainings. Now we also have, let's go back to the support page under training, that link. We have a gob of articles on that, and now we have all those knowledge-based articles. Now some of these are recordings and videos, setting up training to track hours, for example, training module basics. So that's how you would do that. Hopefully we got that question answered for you.
We've got another question on here, Mark, just from Brett Crawford. He's asking, is there a way to view training courses, codes, JPRs created by other agencies, or perhaps ER training? So it looks like possibly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, maybe a newer customer just looking at some ways to get organized and get set straight off from the bat. Unfortunately, I was just typing you an answer on there, Brett. Unfortunately, right now, the system allows us to share certain things for like the occupancy module, for instance. You can share some of those, some of your inspections and inspection forms, but training is just not in there yet. I know there's been a feature request about that, and there's been talk, but we're just not quite there with sharing training. One recommendation I would have for you is every state by state, kind of has their own way of doing training. Colorado does training a little differently than Iowa, Ohio, where Mark's at, and then also Texas. I know they do things a little bit differently. So my recommendation would be to contact some of those agencies and see what they're using. One thing that I like to ask is, why are we doing everything that we're doing? Why do I need everything in training? And I start with what's required by my state. You can also go to NFPA, and if you'd like, I'd be willing to email you guys different standards as well as some codes, just as an example. I know Mark's got quite a few in here, and his are kind of DoD oriented. I mean, they're pretty specific when it comes to what they have to do for the Department of the Army or Department of Defense. So let me know if that's something you'd be interested in there on the chat, and I can send it over to you. Just unfortunately, other than what we showed you today, there's not really any way to share it across customer base.
We are, Brett, this is Mark back again. In the future, we hope to do this year. We just couldn't get it off the ground with how busy we've been, is to set up some user groups and have a user group conference that would be more of a format and forum for customers like you folks to attend and then discuss different ideas, and everybody would have an opportunity to show how you're doing a function in emergency reporting, so everybody can maybe learn from that. So we're working towards that. We hope to have that off the ground next year, and I think it'll be pretty helpful. One thing that you can do, Brett, if you can put on there what state you're in, and we may be able to help you out by sending you a list, and I'll write a note down for that, of customers that we have in Missouri. And Brett, what county are you at in Missouri? And maybe we can find somebody real close to you. St. Charles, okay. Now, I know we have the ability to, when you register, to take your email address, and we'll be able to send you that. So I can, sometime later today or tomorrow, I'll look up a list of customers we have in Missouri, focusing on the St. Charles County and surrounding county areas, and I'll send you that list, and you can maybe just call them up and talk to them and see how they're doing things, and maybe they'll be helpful and share that with you. Okay, does anybody else out there have some questions they'd like to post in? We're getting about wound down here, coming up on our hour. We appreciate everybody's attendance today, and hopefully you gain some insight into the system and how the certifications area works, and the typical organization and operations of it. Any word on training on East Coast from Natalie? So Natalie, are you talking about a regional training conference? The best I can do for you right now, and what I know, is that we'll be in Cleveland, Ohio in July, and down in Miami, Florida area. I believe that's scheduled, they're scheduling that for the October timeframe. You do have the ability to have training come into your agency, send a request into our training coordinator, Nicole Beard, and she can send you a quote on that. Or we can actually do specific online training with your agency, and they do that for a fee, obviously, and we can arrange that for a 3-hour minimum. They can add time to that if you'd like to have specific things for your department, and we do that web-based. Is pretty much how we're doing it right now. Okay, any other questions, anyone? And I don't see any more coming in. Chris, you have any final things to wrap up? Okay.
We got one last question coming in here from Brett Crawford, just giving us a little bit of insight on there. So we'll go ahead and follow up with you, Brett. I know we have your email on here through the system, so I'll make sure to send you an email. I'm just making a note of it right now and get a little bit more information from you on that if you wanted some different things. One thing that that my department does, and a place to start if you're a new customer and somewhere, hey, how do I get this stuff set up with my certifications and my training and my and follow and get those set in there.
Yeah, you cut out for a second, Chris. Or actually,
I apologize. I'm going to stop talking.
So yeah, we'll help you out, Brett. We've got your information down, and I'll get you that customer list, and Chris will contact you and maybe help you out with some of the setup stuff. Anybody else out there that's wanting to ask a question before we get off of here? And again, we appreciate your attendance today, and hopefully everything's going well with you. And also, if they're still out there, let me look who's on my attendee list. I just opened it and it closed. I don't know why this thing is having problems. I saw Roger Parker's name on here. Roger, good to see you. Roger's one of our part-timers. I see Jennifer Howard that's online today up in Sylvania Township. We're going to be up in Sylvania Township next week doing some training. And that's really all the names that I recognize on there today. So, okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Again, appreciate your attendance, and good luck. And if you have any questions, contact us, and we will get back with an answer. Thank you much.